wrestling fans?
Everything is evil.
Never give up.
Never give up.
Yeah, right, John Cena. Never give up.
The bullshit continues.
Listen up, wrestling fans.
That's right, listen up. My name is Tommy Stryker, and this is Strong Honor, where we talk about Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling. If you're new to the show, thanks for checking it out. Thanks for downloading. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. This podcast can be found, of course, Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Radio, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. And like I said, make sure you rate, review, and subscribe there. This week on the show, we've got a special guest, a friend of mine who reached out to me on social media, Wayne Miller Jr. Now, he's no one special. He's just a fan, just like you and me. And that's what this show is about. It's fans talking about the wrestling that they like. And so we get into it. We talk about this year in New Japan. We talk about how his New Japan fandom started. He's a relatively new New Japan fan, started at right around Wrestle Kingdom 10, whereas I started a year earlier around Wrestle Kingdom 9. So if you're a new fan to New Japan, this is a good place to start. I like this show to be a friendly place to start for New Japan fans. So follow this show on Twitter at Strong Honor. Follow me at Tommy Stryker, and we can get the conversation going for new New Japan fans. Of course, we are expecting a lot of New Japan fans to come in for Wrestle Kingdom this year with Chris Jericho on the card. And so Wayne and I talk about all of that, and so we'll get into that conversation here shortly. But I wanted to start off today with a couple of the, certainly I want to talk Ring of Honor TV. Later in the show, after the New Japan discussion, we got Final Battle coming up next week on the 15th. So big stuff right around the corner for Ring of Honor. But before we get into the New Japan conversation I had with Wayne, I wanted to address a couple of things that were out there in the news this week. You know, there's been a lot of news lately with the sexual harassment stuff that's been going around Hollywood types and political figures and everybody else, and it's finally starting to hit wrestling a little bit, which is a good thing. Certainly sexual abuse victims should feel encouraged to come out, and it's hit home on this podcast as far as someone that we talk about here in Michael Elgin. Now, he has not been accused, if you're not up to the news on this, and really this hasn't really, at the time of this recording, kind of hit the wrestling news, the sheets or whatever, the sites yet, because it's kind of been a Twitter thing, and quite frankly, Michael Elgin isn't really at the center of it. It's more based on a guy that he trained and worked with in his Glory Pro promotion, and a fan of that promotion, basically a fan of the Glory Pro promotion, accused another one of those wrestlers from Glory Pro, one of the Michael Elgin trainees, of a sexual assault in one way or another. She went to Michael Elgin about it, and he wasn't sure what to do, because he talked to both of them about it. He encouraged both of them to go to the police. If you look at Elgin's Twitter feed, he explains the whole thing. He admits that he probably said some wrong things, acted in a way, or the wrestler that had the things was accused of this. So I in this case too. So, and like I said, I'm not completely familiar with the goings on of it. I saw some things on Twitter, but you can't trust what you see on Twitter, because it's the Wild West. Anything goes there. And for Michael Elgin shut down his Twitter account, his social media for a day. He's in Japan right now, trying to deal with all of this stuff and the legalities of it all. And so it's just a mess. It's absolutely a mess. And me as a fan of Michael Elgin's, it's tough, because it's like, God, I look at that situation, and you try to put yourself in that person's shoes, but you don't really know how you're going to respond to something until you're actually in that situation. So it's tough, man. So I'm like I said, I'm sympathetic to everybody involved in that situation, and I hope that it gets resolved, and I hope that Michael Elgin comes out of this whole thing, okay, as well as, there's obviously a potential sexual assault victim here. That should be the headline. Unfortunately, this is a wrestling podcast, and all I know are wrestlers and what they said on Twitter, and based on reputations too. I mean, obviously, if you follow the wrestling business, Michael Elgin is a guy that has a reputation of having an attitude, certainly, but it definitely doesn't have a reputation, I don't think, of being a bad guy, just having an attitude. And it sounds like his attitude might have come into play with him saying some not so good things and maybe not taking the right course of action. And certainly if someone comes to you with a sexual assault allegation, your first instinct should not be to question that person's motivation. But unfortunately, that's kind of, I hate to say it, but that's, and I want to say that that's the world we live in, but I feel like that should change. But it's been a thing that this has gone on forever, right? This is anytime it's two people in a private situation and there's no witnesses, it's one person's word over the next. And so it's just an awful situation to be in, whether you've been sexually assaulted, if you've been wrongfully accused of being a sexual abuser, and then being a third party getting involved. It's just, I can't imagine what Michael Elgin is going through, and obviously, not to mention anybody, whoever is the victim on the other two, because at this point it's a he said she said thing, and in this climate, my natural instinct is to believe the person that's saying that they have been abused, because that's what's going on right now. That's coming out. That kind of thing is being empowered right now, and I want to continue to empower that kind of thing. So I don't know, I just want to move on from this thing, and I'm sure everybody involved wants to move on. It's gross, it's ugly, it's all over Twitter, and it makes me want to shut off Twitter because I want to escape from it to the lovely and wonderful world of professional wrestling. So that's what we're going to do right now. Let's move into my conversation that I had with Wayne Miller Jr. about New Japan Pro Wrestling.
King of Sport. Japan Pro Wrestling.
All right, here we are, and I'm talking with Wayne Miller. Say hello, Wayne.
Hello.
Thanks for coming on the show. As you kind of know, I put a message out there on social media, and the way we kind of know each other is through another podcast's Facebook group, the We Watch Wrestling podcast, and that's a really great Facebook group, by the way, and a great podcast for all you listeners. And it's really one of the reasons why I kind of started doing podcasting myself and getting into it was the positivity and the fun of those guys, and that way of talking about wrestling kind of inspired me a little bit, and inspired my friend Wayne to join us here today, and we're going to talk some New Japan stuff. And as you know, this is a Ring of Honor and New Japan show, but we're going to strictly stick to New Japan stuff in this conversation. So Wayne, kind of talk about your wrestling fandom and what brought you to New Japan, and what brought you to want to talk to me today about it.
Yeah, I'll try and give you the Cliff Notes version because, I've lived a full life of wrestling fandom.
Sure.
I've been watching forever, there's always this story between my family of me walking around a hospital when I was like 4 years old, flipping off people saying I was Stone Cold Steve Austin. But as much as I can remember, I was always a big Shawn Michaels and Jeff Hardy fan.
Okay.
Around the 2010s, I fell off a little bit, but, everyone has that time period where they do that.
Yeah.
I really fell in love with guys like Kevin Steen, and that was what kind of got me back into wrestling. Sure. And then with New Japan, the Shibata Ishii match from Wrestle Kingdom 10.
Okay.
I went to Wrestle Kingdom 10 online to watch AJ Styles and Nakamura. But I had never seen anything like Shibata and Ishii. That was just totally out of this world to me.
For sure. And then, that epic AJ Nakamura match right before they left to go to WWE. So
there was just so much hype around that.
Yeah, for sure. And then, I can totally understand after just being kind of a WWE guy, seeing Ishii and Shibata and just that completely different strong style, just really being a hell of a turn on and and like, oh my God, what is this kind of a thing? Because that's kind of how it was for me too. Just the different style and not only that, but just it's a completely different presentation. One of the things I like to do on this show, and the reason why I wanted to have other fans on, was just to talk about for the sake of newer fans that are kind of looking to get into it. I think they're looking for something they're familiar with. They're like, well, what's the Raw and SmackDown of your New Japan? And there really isn't how it works. No. It's a completely different setup. It's very sports-like, and they just kind of have their events as they go throughout the year, and it's very... a lot of the stories that they tell are kind of based on the tournaments that they have throughout the year and stuff like that. So you mentioned Shibata, Ishii, and of course AJ and Nakamura, kind of the hype around that getting you into it. So what have kind of been some of your favorite guys, your favorite matches this year and over the last couple of years as you've gotten into it?
Yeah, Wrestle Kingdom 10 really just made me go into this giant back catalog that they have and find, the first Shibata Ishii match from the G1 Climax 23.
Okay.
And just all that stuff was crazy. And then this year, mostly, I just fell in love with Okada, because Okada's just had a killer year.
Yeah.
I don't think I really gave him the time of day before that, but he's just been killing it this year, obviously, and he's my favorite wrestler right now. I mean, you can't have anyone else be.
Yeah, they did a really good job of building him up over the year, and even the long feud with Tanahashi going into his title reign when he finally defeated Tanahashi at the Tokyo Dome. That was at, I believe that was at 10 too when he finally defeated Tanahashi. Yeah. So 10 was a big one. Like the Okada story that they've told since he's won the title, and then this year the dominant performance that he's had in these matches, and the Kenny Omega series, and all the other guys that he's faced. It's been just such a phenomenal year. There's a lot of podcasts and talkers and talking heads and websites this year are trying feverishly to come up with like top 10 lists of great matches, and I haven't even tried because there've been so many great matches, especially from New Japan, of course. So what were some of your favorites from Okada and maybe some other guys going throughout the year? Yeah,
I wrote a couple down. I don't have the Okada Omegas because I feel like if you're listening to this podcast, you've definitely seen them.
Sure.
But for me, Dragon Lee and Hiromu Takahashi at the New Beginning show this year, at the very beginning of the year, was just such a good match.
That's one that a lot of people really rave about, and it's one of those, like, for me, and not to go against you or anything, but just for me, I understand why people thought it was a great match, and maybe it's one of those that I just need to go back and watch for myself. But to me, at the time, thinking about it and now and reflecting on it, and like I said, maybe I should go back and rewatch it. It never stood out to me as like a. I mean, the work was phenomenal, and it was such a fast. Amazing pace from those two. You could tell that they've had this chemistry or whatever. But for me, maybe it's just because I hadn't seen as much of their backstory that the story wasn't there for me. But again, I'm kind of I'm kind of on my own on this opinion because people people have talked about that match as one of the greats of the year. But I'll let you continue.
No, I understand that completely. What I really liked was just Hiromu Takahashi's just whole arc at the first half of the year was with him just being suicidal almost with his moves and stuff, and just Dragon Lee was like, you know what? I'll go move for move with you. Don't even start with me. I'll knock you out.
And that's an important thing to remember too, is that, you know, Takahashi made his debut at the Tokyo Dome last year, defeated Kushida, who'd been kind of the veteran junior heavyweight guy over the last year or two or whatever. And so him coming in and defeating Kushida, and then the rematch where he defeated him really quickly later in the year, that was kind of part of the building up Takahashi in the beginning of the year.
Definitely. So I also have Okada and Suzuki from the G1 Climax. I didn't care for their New Beginning match. I thought it was really good, but like it was very drawn out, and the selling of the knee at the end just really bothered me with it, you know.
Okay.
He was like worked over the knee for 40 minutes, and then he's just getting up and doing
I do remember that sticking out to me, that it was a long work, and then it was kind of like, oh, he's okay now. So, but I mean, that really is being nitpicky, because it was a pretty damn good match. But I agree with you. I like the G1 Climax, the time limit draw, a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. And that reminded me a lot of Okada and Tanahashi's time limit draw from last year's G1, which was honestly one of my favorite matches of the year last year. So good.
Yeah, very, very good. What about Shibata and Okada? Where does that fit on your list? Maybe I'm jumping ahead. Maybe that was one that...
You're jumping a little bit ahead. I was about to get to that one.
Okay.
That is definitely my favorite match of the year. I think...
Glad to hear you say that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that the Okada and Omega 1 match at the Wrestle Kingdom has to be viewed as the most important match this year. I think you can not really argue that, just for what it did with New Japan, what it did for the online wrestling community and all that. But Shibata and Okada, it was what I needed. Shibata just trying so hard to gain the trust of the New Japan loyal and the New Japan background, and then he finally gets it, and he gets injured, and it was just such a beautiful story. I couldn't help but just fall in love with that match.
I 100% agree with you. It's my favorite match of the year. You know, I mean, like you said, the Okada and Kenny Omega story is so epic. It almost can't be touched. But the redemption story of Shibata and his style just being so different from anything else that Westerners are used to me, he was literally my favorite New Japan wrestler, Shibata. A no-nonsense guy, not much of a promo, but when he would come out, there was this atmosphere to him, and a presence and a charisma to me, and just the way he worked his matches, the way he sold, the way he fought, the way he just all of it, the entire package of him being in the ring, and for that to kind of seemingly be his last match or whatever, it's an absolutely devastating story. But I mean, you can't deny the drama that's there, and what a fantastic story it is, tragic as it is. But so okay, what you got? Any other matches that have stuck out?
The last one that I want to really mention is Omega and Ishii from the July G1 US Tour thing.
The finals for the IWGP US title.
Thank you for wording that correctly.
No problem.
It was such a good match. I mean, I sound like a broken record, but Ishii has to be the most underrated wrestler this year, period. I mean, I know everyone who watches New Japan knows that that's silly to say, but the fact that he's not winning world titles and he's not on WWE's radar because, you know, he's in his 40s, but he's just putting on every single match he does. He always gives 100%, and he's a level above just about everyone.
Yeah, underrated is a really great word, and he's a guy that has had so many he can pretty much have a great match with anybody. For me, the same thing goes for a guy like Michael Elgin. Had a great G1 climax, really good matches. He had great matches with Kenny Omega. He had another one going back to that G1 special in the U.S. Another guy, like I said, he's had a great year, but a quote losing year, kayfabe wise, storyline wise. He just hasn't won that many matches. So I'm really curious to see where those two guys end up at Wrestle Kingdom, with both of their teams kind of being pretty much mathematically out of the World Tag League at this point. Anything's still kind of possible with a couple of matches remaining at the time of this recording, but it's not looking good. Yeah. I mean, either way, it's not looking whether they're in a IWGP Heavyweight Tag match or in the New Japan Rumble. That's kind of looking like
it's not really a good thing either way.
Right. It's not a big spot for either of those guys. So, but I think both of them have proven their worth and have worked hard throughout the year, and I could definitely see both of them getting into certainly the Never picture next year, even the maybe the Intercontinental picture, certainly the U.S. title picture, although the story with Kenny Omega and potentially Kota Ibushi next year, throw in some Cody Rhodes stuff in there as well. There's a lot going on kind of in that IWGP U.S. picture, but I think maybe the Never Openweight title that Minoru Suzuki's had all year might be a good spot for those guys to go for next year. What are your thoughts?
Definitely. I'm ready for that title to be off of Suzuki. I love Suzuki so much. He's one of my favorites. He's had some really good matches this year, but he's had a really disappointing run with that Never Openweight title, which is probably my favorite title in New Japan, because I love that you can have... We had a great, really underrated match earlier this year with Will Ospreay and Katsuyori Shibata for it. And, that's the stuff that I really like with that title.
Juniors versus heavyweights. Yeah, a lot of people wanted to see, before the IWGP Junior title got mixed into a four-way, I heard a lot of people talking about maybe Kushida going for the Never Openweight title versus Suzuki at the Dome. Of course, it's looking like it's going to be Goto based on all the interviews and stuff that have been going on, the post-match promos during the World Tag League and post-Power Struggle. It's been Goto basically challenging Suzuki, but I don't know. What do you did you hear those same rumors about Kushida? What are your thoughts on that? And then how do you feel about Goto going back for that Never title again?
So I did hear about him on a couple of different podcasts and on the internet. People are clamoring for Kushida to not move up maybe, but to at least go into that Never title picture. Mm-hmm. But Suzuki and Goto, I'm not gonna lie, I can't get into that match again. Like, Goto doesn't do anything for me, hasn't done it for a while, and Suzuki with his shenanigans. I was honestly hoping for, I haven't heard anyone really talk about it, but I was really hoping for Zack to maybe leave Suzuki-gun and head to try and fight Suzuki for the title. That was what I was hoping for, but
that'd be an interesting one for sure. Go ahead.
Submissions alone would just be totally worth the price.
And we talk about the Suzuki-gun factor or whatever in Suzuki's matches. Suzuki's best matches are the ones where the Suzuki-gun factor was kind of eliminated either by, the opposite babyface, or it was something that would take... It would be in a longer match where that kind of bullshit stuff would take place earlier, but then things would be much more serious towards the end of the match. The Okada match early on, his better... the Okada match from the G1, the same thing. The bad matches, like the Elgin match, where there's heavy Suzuki-gun stuff, and that leading to the bad finish and all of that. So you get the good and the bad with Suzuki-gun. What I have enjoyed a lot though the last month or so are these newly the subtitled promos for Suzuki-gun guys backstage. Like, I'm all of a sudden, I'm very much more entertained by the entire Suzuki-gun clan now that I know what all of them are saying in those promos. They're very entertaining. That being said, I'm still very frustrated by the Suzuki-gun antics in main event matches, like early undercard stuff, multi-man tags. It doesn't bother me so much, but in the big spots, that Michael Elgin match match sticks out like a sore thumb as like the stinker of the year as far as like, a main event gone bad or whatever.
Definitely. I do think it has gone right sometimes. I actually liked it in the Omega Suzuki match from the G1. I feel like a lot of people were just like, oh, it's Suzuki-gun BS. We don't want that. But I actually thought it worked really well with Fale kind of swarming them out.
Yeah.
But, actually, every Suzuki-gun member, like, on their own, I like. El Desperado had a pretty good year. I don't mind Taichi, which is a very, touchy thing to say, but...
You and I share that opinion. When he made when he re-emerged or whatever in the, what was that junior, the tournament they had right before or right kind of during the G1 climax last year, where some of the Suzuki-gun guys, Super J Cup, yes, that was the first time I had seen Taichi, and I was into it. I was like, oh, this fucker coming out singing his song and his mic stand and he's got his gal with him. I was into it, and so I kind of share that opinion that I get a kick out of Taichi and ripping the pants off and being a dick, and then Yoshinobu Kanemaru coming out with the fucking whiskey bottle, that gets me every time too. So like I said, there's a place for that stuff. It gets bothersome like in big time main events or whatever, but I think I kind of cut you off.
Iizuka needs to stay the heck away.
Get the Iron Claw out of there.
Please just let him do something else. Let him be Captain New Japan. Like, get him away from the matches, please.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because in the World Tag League, he's been the guy teaming with Suzuki in the league matches, of course, and it's made for uninteresting matchups. The only thing that I've been kind of paying attention to with Suzuki and Iizuka in those matches are, okay, well, what's happening with Goto, and where is he coming into play, kind of in the multi-man tag situation, and of course, how that's going to play into their feud going forward. Other than that, haven't really been interested in the Suzuki situation, other than he's kind of playing spoiler for some other more popular acts. Of course, that's kind of the Suzuki-gun role at this point. So,
yeah, I mean, I've been watching some of the New Japan World Tag League, and I mean, I think we're destined to see Yuji Nagata and Manabu Nakanishi take the whole thing. I mean, which is really crazy.
Well, we'll see how it goes, but that's
my prediction. I've made it here.
Okay. Well, I'll hold you to that. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there were some other things I wanted to get into before we kind of talk the end of the year World Tag League, getting into Wrestle Kingdom. But I think we kind of covered a lot of the big stuff. Well, let's touch on the G1 a little bit. We talked about kind of Elgin having that disappointing G1. I thought Evil had a really good G1. A lot of people were talking about Sonata going into the G1, but to me, he kind of disappointed, and Evil definitely rised up, had that great match with Okada at King of Pro Wrestling. What were your thoughts there?
Yeah, definitely. Off the top of my head, I didn't, think too much about it, but Evil definitely brought a lot to the table. He was definitely the big star to come out of it. Had a kind of a disappointing match with Okada after the G1, but, after all the greatness that we've had with Okada, I'm not going to complain. And with Evil. We had a great G1 with Evil, but let's see. I think Zach had a really good G1.
Sure.
Juice isn't really my guy, but I know lots of people really liked Juice's G1 climax.
Sure. I think he's definitely improved, but go ahead.
Michael Elgin didn't really disappoint me. I mean, his standings in the tournament really disappointed me.
The win-loss record, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But Sonata really disappointed me this year. I was really excited about Sonata, maybe even being in the finals.
Yeah, he might be a guy that might just need another year or two before that light switch kind of goes off. But he's having trouble kind of making that connection with the crowd a little bit. There's just something missing there, and so it might just
reminds me a little of Randy Orton in a way. Where he just seems kind of like he's on autopilot sometimes. He's like, yeah, I'm doing this move, and we'll get there, but this is the match.
He's a little too tranquilo, really.
Yeah, definitely.
So, And I think he kind of plays that up, but I think, we need to hear more from him. He needs to be a little more expressive and just establish kind of that connection with the crowd, I think. And he might just be a guy who just needs another year or two. And with all the talent they have at the top of the card, there's definitely time with him. And he's a bit of a younger guy yet too. It's not like his clock is running out by any means. So we got a little time with him as well. All right, let's kind of get into what's happened since the last time I podcasted on the World Tag League, and we'll get into a little bit of Wrestle Kingdom 12 as well as some Access TV news. Since before we get into the World Tag, let's talk about this Access TV news. Now, obviously, sounds like you are obviously a New Japan World subscriber, and that's how you get your New Japan. But I think it's really interesting what they're doing with Access TV here. So the Tokyo Dome Wrestle Kingdom 12, they're going to have a 3-hour version of it, I believe. So basically, your main event matches. They're going to be broadcasting that 2 days later on the 6th, basically on Saturday night. So in prime time or whatever. And so I think this is actually a good thing, even though I think the idea of bringing in Chris Jericho was to get more New Japan World subscribers, people paying the money to watch the event. But I think this is going to get a lot of more of your casual people to tune in, just because it's going to be on American TV. They don't have to go onto a website, log in, put in their credit card information, and on top of that, a Japanese website that they have to translate and figure out and all of that. And so I think in a way it's a good thing. And I don't really take it. I think some people might take it as a slight to the paying fans that they're going to put it out there for free basically 2 days later. But I don't take it that way. I think it's a way to get more eyeballs on the product and, create more fans like you who you went to New Japan looking for AJ and Nakamura and you discovered this whole world of New Japan. So how do you feel about have you seen much of the Access TV product and how do you feel about them putting it out there for free a couple of days later?
Yeah, I try to watch Access TV whenever I can. I don't have it, so it makes it a little bit more difficult, but sometimes if, I see something, I'll be like, okay, well, I'll subscribe to, Sling for a month, and,
sure,
I'll use that, but I think it's a really, really good idea, honestly, because the people that you're gonna get watching that are going to be the people who would never, sign up for the New Japan Pro Wrestling World. And after they see, what we presume will be an amazing show. I mean, since Wrestle Kingdom 8, they've only gotten better every year, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I doubt it's going to be better, but we said that last year too. But you're going to get people who are going to be like, wow, what is this? How can I watch more of it? And that's where we come in and be like, hey, this is how you watch it. Because I remember in July, I saw this video, I don't know if you caught it, of Roseanne Barr watching New Japan on Access. And it was like, that's the type of people that you'll end up seeing. Is people are like, what is this? We'll throw it on, and it's going to really bring in a whole new world to people.
Yeah, I remember that. That was really cool. So, and that's really the it's the gateway drug, really. You get a little bit of it here on Access TV, and you want more. For me, it was I got into New Japan starting with Wrestle Kingdom 9. The year prior to that, I'd heard about the G1 for several years and was curious about it before Wrestle Kingdom 9. But then I looked into it and I was like, okay, it's $100 some odd, and it's like this giant list of matches, and I didn't know what the G1 was at the time, and so I was just kind of overwhelmed. And so then there was the news that Jeff Jarrett at the time was trying to get his Global Force brand over, and it was him that kind of presented, but it was that was the catalyst of getting Wrestle Kingdom 9 on American pay-per-view. And so that was how I watched Wrestle Kingdom 9 was pay-per-view, and I fell in love with it there. It was definitely a culture shock or whatever, just again not being used to that style of wrestling. And then later that year, I think it was 2015 was the year of Wrestle Kingdom 9. Yep. So later that year is when they came out with New Japan World, and I ended up subscribing for Dominion that year, and I haven't looked back since. So yeah, I think it's basically just get the eyeballs on the product. Chris Jericho is a huge get for New Japan, and what I presume will probably be the semi-main event of the show. Although you could probably argue Tanahashi and Switchblade maybe being in that spot, but either way, basically a huge match on a huge stage, and it's going to get those casual eyeballs or certainly the curious eyeballs on the product. So cool thing.
I've been talking to all my work friends who watch WWE. I'm like, hey, Chris Jericho just left WWE because WWE isn't doing what New Japan's doing. Everyone wants to go to New Japan. You should be watching it. It's really good,
Yeah, and it's really, speaking of Jericho, too, I listened to his podcast this week with Jimmy Jacobs, and it's really, really interesting because with, Jericho's contract running out from WWE last year, him putting together this cruise thing and then hitting a brick wall when it came to him, his plan for the cruise was to bring NXT onto it, and then, hit a brick wall when trying to talk to WWE people about it, and I think that really frustrated him. And so he went to Ring of Honor to get that crew onto his cruise, and now he's going to go to the Tokyo Dome and face the pretty much the biggest independent star that there is in the world right now in Kenny Omega. Certainly one of the biggest draws, if not the biggest independent draw. Certainly the biggest independent draw in the United States, Kenny Omega. So him going there and doing that, he's kind of on this rebellious streak right now, kind of going against WWE with his cruise coming up. Yeah, it just recently came out that he's some people were disappointed because Fozzy has a show the same day as WrestleMania, so he's not going to be back at WrestleMania. I honestly think that Chris Jericho is going to have a little New Japan run here. We can speculate whether or not he's going to win that that U.S. title or not. I'm not ready to make a prediction as far as that goes yet, but I don't think he's coming into New Japan for just one match, and certainly possibilities of doing stuff with Ring of Honor and all the talk that the Young Bucks and Cody trying to do a 10,000 seat arena later next year. I think he's going to definitely be part of that as well. So I don't know, what are your thoughts on all that stuff? I just threw out a ton there. So
don't worry about it. With Chris Jericho, I mean, we've been saying since probably 2008, I would say, is just he always knows how to reinvent himself and keep us guessing.
Yes.
He did that giant list thing last year, and we were all like, how is that going to get over? And it got over huge. And then this year, we were like, well, what's he going to do now? Well, he just left WWE and went to New Japan and kept us guessing like that. Like, you don't expect to see stuff like that, and it's great, Yeah. But I think he's going to be very vital to what New Japan wants to do this next year. And it's definitely a smarter decision to use people like Chris Jericho than it was to use people like Billy Gunn, let's say, for example.
Billy. I think they had it was a good idea, or not a good idea, but I think they had good intentions, but I don't think they realized what they were doing there. But Chris Jericho, big star, and it'll do what's intended, I think. So, all right, let's shift back to the World Tag League here, since I'm not going to go over all the matches since last week, but I'll point out some ones that I certainly liked along the way, and I do have a couple more sound bites from those post-match promos, post-match interviews backstage that they do. Some decent stuff there. Going back to the 30th, November 30th from Korakuen Hall, an A Block show. A big 3.25-star match, in my opinion. Best Friends versus Jeff Cobb and Michael Elgin. Both teams going into it had 2 wins, so 4 points. So, and Best Friends kind of getting a bit of an upset win there, in my opinion, with the double stomp assisted dude buster from the Best Friends. I thought this was Cobb's first impressive match of the tournament. Like I was saying in last week's podcast, that to me it was Michael Elgin that had been standing out in their tag league matches, and this one was kind of the first one where Cobb stood out as a good performer. But yeah, Best Friends getting a win here, and gaining momentum going forward in the tournament. Another good match. I gave this one 4 stars, which is a big one. The Killer Elite Squad versus War Machine. Killer Elite Squad, of course, the current IWGP Heavyweight Tag Champions. War Machine getting the win over the champs here to tie up their 3 wins. So Killer Elite Squad coming in undefeated with 6 points, and War Machine only having 4 points or 2 wins. So them getting caught up to the Killer Elite Squad in that match. Let's see here. Going into the match with Suzuki and Iizuka, the Callahan had quite a well, let me guess. I got to get my cursor over to my soundbite giver here. But Sami Callahan had a nice dare for Minoru Suzuki going into the match.
You pissed off Death Juice and we're taking it out on you. So Suzuki, I'm daring you to fucking hit me. I'm daring you to fucking hit me. Look me in the eyes. Death Juice ain't losing again. Bullshit.
I don't know if he's ever met Minoru Suzuki.
I've really enjoyed the dynamic between Juice and Sami Callahan, just because Juice is way more subdued and more of a sports-like interview in his backstage stuff, whereas Callahan is always crazy like that. So I've really liked what those two brought to the table throughout the tournament. Let's see here. Then Owens and Chase Owens and Fale ended up defeating Death Juice later in the tournament. They had some things to say after their big win.
But there's one thing that I've got. That's learning from some of the greatest professional wrestlers in the world.
Fale thinks he's talking about him.
Learning from the big man, but most importantly, learning from Ricky Morton, learning from Bobby Eaton, those little dirty tricks. And those little dirty tricks picked up 2 points for the big man, for Chase Owens, for the Docs, for us Tongans. That is just too sweet. Big man, give it to me right here. Shh. Wait. Come on, too sweet. Right here. Come on. Fuck off, you nerd!
Yeah, right there at the end, Fale turns to one of the assembled media and offers a 2-sweet and then says, yeah, fuck off, nerd. And so Fale has been kind of incorporating, or both of those guys, incorporating the nerd thing in, kind of taking a page from Gallows and Anderson. And so I like that. As well as Chase talking about how we're both Tongans and bringing our Tongan power. So I got a kick out of their promos there. Let's see here, kind of going on throughout the tournament here. Guerrillas of Destiny did basically eliminate, Guerrillas of Destiny also defeated the Killer Elite Squad. Both of those teams had 6 points going into their match. So both Guerrillas of Destiny and War Machine getting wins over the current champions. We had that series of 3-way matches between those 3 teams. That's something we haven't talked about yet, Wayne. What did you think about those same 3 teams in like 4 matches in a row, from Destruction going into, I think it was King of Pro Wrestling, with several, all 4 of them 3-way matches. What did you think of those?
There's lots of GIFs or GIFs, however people want to say it. I don't want to start a riot, but
we go with GIFs Kanye on this
West. Show. Okay, see, I'm a GIF person too, definitely.
Okay.
Of like Kanye West smiling and then it slowly turning to a frown, and I'm not gonna lie, that's how I feel about those matches, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty afraid that's gonna be what we get at Wrestle Kingdom.
That would be pretty bad.
I'm still holding out hope that we get, Jeff Cobb and Sonata and Evil in the finals, but it's not looking too bright for me. But
I mean, Sonata and Evil pretty much have the best chance. Let me see here. Get my blocks out here. Yeah, Sonata and Evil with 8 points currently lead Block A right now, and then in Block B you got the Best Friends with 8 points, as well as Gorillas of Destiny with 8 points. So, but it's still in the B block. It's kind of still anybody's game, and that's where you've got the Gorillas, you've got War Machine, you've got the current champions, Killer Elite Squad, but the Best Friends in there as well. So, and then they, it could be any of those. But I do like the idea of moving towards a different team challenging, although I'm a huge fan of War Machine right now. It really feels like the momentum is there, although it just feels like a rerun at this point with any of those three teams in the mix,
Yeah, it feels like every year they decide to, add a tag team. Last year it was Gorillas of Destiny, this year it's War Machine. Who knows what it's going to be next year, but I'm right. Ready for a real revamp of that tag team division because it's pretty stale. But there are good components. We got War Machine, who's doing great stuff, and we have Jeff Cobb and Michael Elgin, and heck, the Best Friends. I love Chuck Taylor and Trent, and I don't think they're getting over as big as I hoped in Japan, but I love them, and I'm hoping for them.
They're a fun act, and I think it's going to take some time for Japan to kind of get used to their act. And like I said, it might be a little bit too goofy for some of the Japanese crowds, but like I pointed out on last week's show, I really liked their promo where they talked about how, yeah, we fuck around, but when it comes time to having great matches, we're right in there. So I liked that promo from those guys last week. Back to this Gorillas of Destiny versus Killer Elite Squad. This was a fun match too, just because for me it was like Gorillas of Destiny are the baby faces in the match. It was like that was it was a completely different feeling I've ever had watching the Gorillas of Destiny before, and I think it's a credit to Killer Elite Squad, and especially when Lance Archer comes out, I'm like, oh fuck this guy and his bottles of water and spitting on everybody. It's such a great heel thing to do, but I'm just like, oh fuck this asshole, and so I instantly root for whoever they're fighting against immediately. So they do a great job as heels in that aspect. So, and they're telling a good story with them being dominant early in the tournament, and then Gorillas of Destiny getting their win over them, and War Machine having the other victory over them towards the end of the tournament here. So both of those former competitors against them earlier in the year getting signature wins late in the tournament. And I do want to point out, and I've talked about this before on the show as well too, but with them guys being in 4 3-way matches, it made us yearn for the 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 basically, the straight up tag matches that we're getting here in the tournament. So in that aspect, doing the 3-ways earlier in the year kind of works, because now I was more interested to see what the outcomes were in these the straight up 1-on-1 tag matches. So
definitely.
Let's see here.
And to go back on those first couple of matches that you were talking about, I actually have them flipped with our star ratings, which, I mean, a half a star is no big deal, but
yeah,
the Best Friends and Jeff Cobb and Michael Elgin, I mean, that was the match that I was really hoping for this World Tag League, because, you don't get much in the World Tag League, as we've learned from the past couple of years, but I think those guys really came out and they really brought it, and I was really excited. And yeah, I just have the War Machine and KES match just under 4 stars, which is really like my way of calling a match great, is when it hits 4 stars. I'm like, okay, that was a great match.
Yeah,
it was just under that for me. But they were both really, really good matches, so I mean, you can't go wrong.
Sure, yeah. Let's see here. Kind of looking over my notes here, because like I said, I don't feel like we need to go over everything, because it's it's out there. Ishii and Yano did get a victory over War Machine on the from the show from December 2nd, so kind of an upset there, but it was your typical Yano nut shot and a roll up to get the win in that one. But it was a shit finish after a good long match. You know, like we talked about Ishii earlier, and I like Ishii and Yano together in this tournament because Ishii just plays it 100% like straight up, like the goofiness of Yano going on around Ishii is such a weird dichotomy, and then you know the War Machine guys kind of goofily selling for Yano, but then Ishii just there being 100% a straight up guy is just a fun, interesting thing in all of their matches, really. But
yeah.
I thought it was interesting with those guys kind of taking out War Machine, kind of leaving them at 6 points late in the tournament.
Yeah, I feel like it should be about time where I give up on Yano and I shouldn't like him anymore, but I still enjoy every single one of his matches, and I always get excited when I see his singles matches, and the dichotomy between him and Ishii has just been fun to watch because you just got like this good cop and then this meth addict cop, almost like just totally opposite cops. It's crazy. They're so much fun to watch.
And then finally, we were talking about kind of Death Juice was on a nice roll in the tournament going into their match here on the 3rd of December versus Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens, having 6 points, 3 wins. But Bad Luck Fale and Owens got the win, and it was Owens getting the win over Sami Callihan with a roll up out of nowhere in the match after Death Juice kind of dominated throughout the match. And I really, the only reason I brought it up is because I really liked their promo after the match here.
Obviously, I think we're knocked out of the A block now. I mean, I don't know for sure. I'm assuming best we get is 8 points. So I think we're pretty much out. Sucks when you start off so good, man. It's really disappointing because now I don't even know. Wrestle Kingdom 12's right around the corner, and I probably won't be a part of it because
That's my bad. You're regular.
No.
My first time here.
No.
You might not be a part of Wrestle Kingdom because I lost tonight. You know what? I'll take the blame for this. Nothing against the fans, but I let the fans get in our head. I maybe pandered a little too much, so I liked to make those Japanese people happy. But at the end of the day, that didn't get the job done. I need to be meaner. I need to be nastier, and I fucked up. This is as bad as the college football playoff brackets right now. We may be one of the best teams in this league, but it doesn't matter. We don't have the points to go to the playoffs. We don't have the points to go to the finals, and we're pretty much knocked out unless there's some sort of fucking miracle at this point.
So I like them selling the idea, oh, it's defeat, this sucks, and Sammy kind of taking the blame for the loss at the end there. I was pandering too much, getting into the crowd and losing my focus. So I like a good, oh, fuck, we lost promo. I don't know.
Yeah, Sami Callihan, I know a lot of people have been, they're bringing in Sami Callihan and just a lot of groans, but I've always really liked Sammy's stuff. I think he's a lot of fun to watch. He does a lot of the Hiromu Takahashi where he's like, I'm just going to throw my body at whoever I want, and it's fine. But I think he's been doing really well, and I think he's been getting over with the Japanese crowd, especially in the smaller towns I've noticed, which I think is really weird, but you know.
He's got a really intense style, and I didn't get him at all when he was in NXT. They didn't. He kind of held himself back there. But I recently got to go to an AAW show in Chicago a couple of months back with that big weekend when Ring of Honor was there and everything, and seeing him live there and his intensity and how hard he hits there live really turned me on to him there. And I think the same is kind of going in New Japan right now. He's intense. He hits hard. You know, I could do without the slobbering and the snot and all that. And I think because early in the tournament he was doing a lot of that, and later he's kind of dialed that down. So I think the the people, the higher ups in New Japan said, let's not do the spitting and the kissing and the slobbering. Let's tone that down and just dial up the intensity in the wrestling, and he's done that, and I think it's working for him. So I'm hoping to get a lot more. I'm hoping to see more Sami Callihan in New Japan, as well as a guy like Jeff Cobb. Haven't really talked about him a ton yet, and I'm still looking for more from him yet. But he has definitely started to show some stuff. But I'd definitely like to see more from both of those guys.
My other promotion of choice besides New Japan is definitely PWG, and Jeff Cobb's a very frequent regular there.
Sure.
And, you can't go wrong with any Jeff Cobb stuff. I mean, he's the best. So I'm really excited about what he can do. He's a little too similar to Michael Elgin, maybe to the New Japan crowd, because I mean they're both stocky big guys who do a bunch of power moves. But I really feel like Jeff Cobb is in that next generation of it, where he's advanced the game, kind of like if you compared Pac or Adrian Neville, whatever you want to say, to Ricochet. I mean, you're advancing it, or something like that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the standings where we're at here. There's only in some cases it was weird because most of these block matches, or I shouldn't say, most of the shows had 4 matches from each block, whereas this last one there were only like 2 A block matches. So like in the A block, some teams only have 1 match left and other teams have 2 matches left. In the B block, everybody's got 2 matches left. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So like I said earlier, in the A block, Evil and Sonata out in front with 8 points, and the only match they have left is Goto and Yoshihashi. And then a bunch of guys with 6 points left in the A block. So really anybody's block in the A side, but not a lot of names. I mean, Robinson and Callahan are in there looking for a miracle. Their only match left is Hangman Page and Hiromu Takahashi. Not Hiromu, Yujiro Takahashi. Bullet Club Takahashi. But let's see, I think they got, let's see here, where did, no, they beat Evil and Sonata. So if Evil and Sonata stay at 8 points and Robinson and Callahan beat the Bullet Club guys, they have the tiebreaker over Evil and Sonata right now. So interesting.
That's crazy.
Yeah, interesting there. So they still have a chance, which would be really interesting with that post-match promo. Suzuki and Iizuka, they're not going to win, of course. Nakanishi and Nagata have only 1 win.
Dang it.
Let's see, but we were just talking about Bullet Club, Page, and Takahashi. They also have 6 points, but they still have to face Suzuki and Iizuka, and like I said, Robinson and Callahan. So that might be I think I haven't looked at the schedule, but I'm assuming Robinson and Callahan are their final day opponent here. But then Fale and Owens, they have 6 points right now, so they're pretty much out of it. Yeah, they're out of it. They only have the 1 match left versus Nakanishi and Nagata, and they also lost to Evil and Sonata, so they are out of it as well. Over on the B block, the more competitive block, 2 teams at 8 points, like I said, the Best Friends and the Gorillas of Destiny. Gorillas of Destiny were defeated by the Best Friends earlier in the tournament, so they got the tiebreaker there, but the Best Friends still have to face the Killer Elite Squad and Ishii and Yano, so you could go either way with those guys. Couple other teams with 6 points in there, so of course Killer Elite Squad with 2 matches left, they still got to face the Best Friends and Makabe and Hanare. So, obviously, they're going to get to 8 points with the Makabe Hinari thing, and the Best Friends thing is interesting there. So we'll see how that goes. Hanson and Rowe War Machine have 2 matches left, one versus Michael Elgin and Jeff Cobb, and the other one Finlay and Kitamura. So they're going to get to 8 points. It's just a matter of where the tiebreakers come in and if they beat Cobb and Elgin. Gorillas of Destiny, 8 points right now. I think I already say them, but they got to face Cobb and Elgin and Ishii and Yano. So there you go. It's still pretty competitive, both blocks with a couple of matches to go. So some interesting stuff to look for over the next couple of days here as we wrap up the tag league. Next tag league matches, they start on, let me see here. Oh, I updated my the 6th is the next. The 6th through the 11th is the end of the tag league here. So within the next week here, we'll know what's going on. Hopefully, well, potentially, aside from tiebreakers and whether or not they try to do a 3 or a 4-way at Wrestle Kingdom, we'll kind of see how it goes. Who do you want to come out of World Tag League and go on to Wrestle Kingdom?
I mean, I would love to see Sonata and Evil do it, but they still have the never open weight titles, if I'm correct. So I don't see them winning it unless they drop it in those Christmas shows, which is a definite possibility. Mm-hmm. But I want to see them. I really want to see Elgin and Cobb take it. But I mean, there's no stopping Nakanishi and Nagata, so I mean, I think that's what we're looking at. I
think they're mathematically eliminated. One other thing I did want to bring up is the someone's O has got to go in the B block. Finlay and Kitamura currently with 0 points. Also with 0 points, Henare and Makabe. So, and they do face each other at coming up. But Finlay and Kitamura, like I said, they face Hansen and Rowe. Henare and Makabe face the Killer Elite Squad. So they're not getting wins there. So it's going to come down to Finlay and Kitamura versus Henare and Makabe to get that one win in the tournament. So that's a fun story too.
Yeah, and I know everyone talks about it. I'm just going to bring it up, too, because I feel the same way. Can we please get David Finlay on Excursion? That happened yesterday.
Yeah, his promos have been god-awful in the post-match match stuff. But, you tune in to see what Kitamura is going to do, basically. When he's been decent when he's talked. He's talked about, his fighting spirit, basically, and fire, and I'm going to fight hard tomorrow, even though he lost today. And so he's saying and doing all the right things. Exactly. Never give up, John Cena. So, so fun stories here to wrap up the tag league. And I think this is probably a good spot to wrap up the conversation. We're creeping up on an hour here. And so, I'd love to have you back on at some point, Wayne, possibly before Wrestle Kingdom if we have time, to talk about that. And, it's been a great conversation. I've really, enjoyed having you on, and I hope you've enjoyed it as well. Why don't you tell people where they can, find, I know you have a couple of, lists that you arranged, some best of, PWG and stuff like that. Where can people find that stuff?
Yeah, I'll shoot you some links so that you can put them in the description of the podcast so that people can find them. I have some recommended match viewing at what I consider, great matches so far, 4 stars and up for Evolve and PWG. I'm currently working on a Ring of Honor one. I want to get that up and running before the new streaming service starts for them, but I'm really excited about it. I don't think a whole lot of people know about them, so I'm hoping that'll gain some traction for it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we are all definitely looking forward to the possibility, or it's definitely something that they've been talking about anyway. The Ring of Honor streaming service. So definitely looking forward to that. Any other social media or anything that we can look for you on?
Not too exciting. You can find me on Facebook at Wayne Miller Jr. But I don't really use Twitter because there's no reason to follow me because I don't have too many wrestling fan friends, but
Gotcha. And maybe just stay tuned to this podcast, and you never know when you might pop up.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see. Maybe I'll gain a huge following, and I'll have to start using Twitter.
Strong Honor.
Again, I want to thank Wayne for that conversation talking New Japan, and very excited for Wrestle Kingdom right around the corner. All right, let's talk some Ring of Honor television. So yeah, Ring of Honor TV. It was a good show this week. One worth checking out. Hell of a main event. Flip Gordon versus Hangman Page. Flip Gordon getting the big win here with the Star-Spangled Stunner. A second rope springboard into a twist into a stunner. It was amazing. Flip Gordon is amazing and a lot of fun to watch. So yeah, fun match with him and Hangman Page. They do so many flips, both of them, all over the place. Really interesting here too, because with Hangman Page being part of the Elite, the Bullet Club, he was over in the room, but Flip was over as well. So a really fun, interesting playoff of each other there. After the match, the Young Bucks come out and attack Flip Gordon. Of course, it will be the Hung Bucks, Hangman Page and the Young Bucks, taking on Flip Gordon and his two really interesting partners for Final Battle for the Ring of Honor 6-man championships. Flip Gordon's going to team up with Dragon Lee and Titan from CMLL. Of course, if you're watching New Japan, you're familiar with seeing both of those guys a little bit from the Fantasticomania shows, and Dragon Lee with his series of matches with Hiromu Takahashi earlier in the year. Of course, talked about that a little bit with Wayne in that conversation that you just heard as well. So that should be a really fun match coming up at Final Battle with all of those players involved. Also on this show, opening match, the Beer City Bruiser versus Marty Scurll, a fun match. And this really was one of the few times that Scurll has kind of been painted in that babyface light. Of course, we know the Bullet Club is really over with American fans. And so putting him in there with the piece of shit that everybody hates, the Beer City Bruiser, made for a fun match. Scurll still does his villain shtick at some point. He gets a Beer City Bruiser sitting on the top rope, and Scurll power bombs him out of that position and goes for a pinfall, but has his feet on the ropes. And then the referee catches him, and then the ref gets heat from the crowd for catching Marty Scurll with his feet on the ropes. But then later in the match, the Bruiser misses a cannonball on the floor. Then he misses hits a splash onto the ref, so it takes out the referee, and the crowd chants, "You deserve it," at the referee for making the right call, but the unfavorable call against Scurll earlier in the match. That, of course, with the referee down, Scurll gets the umbrella out and takes Bruiser out with the umbrella and gets the win that way. So Scurll's going to be taking on Jay Lethal in a grudge match, I guess, here at Final Battle. Not a ton of heat there, but I think it'll be a good match, a fun match worth watching there. Then we had a really fun Dalton Castle promo. Of course, Dalton going to be taking on Cody for the ROH title here at Final Battle. He says he's been a wrestler for a long time. It's no longer what I want to do. This is what I do. And he says this is more than just a one-on-one match to see who's the best. He talks about, it's personal now. Cody attacked him and Christopher Daniels in Dalton Castle's last title opportunity in Ring of Honor. And then he talked about how he attacked him later and called him a novelty act. At one point, Cody dressed as one of the boys and sneak attacked Dalton Castle. One point, he put the boys in a box and shipped them away. So, with the idea being that can Dalton face Cody one-on-one without the boys? And then at one point, he kicked him in the dick. Dalton says he kicked me in the dick, my own dick. And so he's very upset about that. So Dalton with many reasons to be upset here. They've told a good story going into this match with Cody and Dalton Castle at Final Battle. Do I think Dalton Castle will beat Cody? Well, they've already advertised Cody has challenged Kota Ibushi for the Tokyo Dome. Certainly he could lose the title here, and that match just ends up being furthering the storyline of, Cody being part of the Elite with Kenny Omega. Obviously, they've been building to those two kind of going at it at some point, because it's been Cody's as the one who's been, poisoning Kenny Omega and trying to get that top spot. Cody's been claiming that he is the top draw of the Elite when it, in fact, is Kenny Omega. So I think that's a story that's going to play into it with the Kota Ibushi factor. You know, certainly here's the deal. If Cody has the Ring of Honor title going into Wrestle Kingdom, by all means, Kota Ibushi should beat Cody Rhodes. So their Bullet Club shenanigans could possibly get involved, upsetting a guy like Kenny Omega who has that history with Kota Ibushi, that respect for Kota Ibushi. So that certainly is a factor in Cody possibly keeping the championship if he keeps it versus Dalton Castle. It's hard to say right now. I think Dalton could win it, and you could still tell that story with Cody and Kota Ibushi. I think it's a bigger deal, obviously, if Cody has the Ring of Honor title, and I think they booked it thinking that he would be the Ring of Honor champion. So I really think Cody will keep it here, but I am intrigued because Dalton Castle is a very popular figure in Ring of Honor. Do I think he's a championship material, a top guy, the top guy in your company? I don't think so. I think he's really good. I think he's really popular. I think he's in a good spot right now. But I just don't see him as champion. But a lot of people don't hold that same sentiment. Look, I'm a fan. I love Dalton Castle. I love the act. I love all of it. He's a good wrestler. I like watching him wrestle. His in-ring stuff is good. He's not just a gimmick. So he certainly could hold that spot and could prove me wrong. So who knows? But I'm very excited to see how everything turns out. Also on the show this week, the Briscoes attack Bully Ray's students inside his wrestling school. They go looking for Bully Ray and at his wrestling school because he's seemingly, according to the Briscoes, been avoiding them. So they go in there, they trash they take out a couple of his students. There's a female student there who's upset. She's screaming and crying and calling the police. They're going around, and the Briscoes are, and they break several photos. There's photos all over the walls in this school, and they just take a few of them and break them, so they don't break all of them. I did like the presentation here because the idea was that Mark Briscoe was filming this with his camera, with his cell phone, basically, with his cellular device, and so it wasn't just some skit where there was an obvious cameraman there. It was filmed in a way that it looked like Briscoe was filming it with his phone. So I liked that element of realism that this segment brought. So far the Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer have not accepted the challenge yet, but I reckon we'll get something like that, and it will be those two teams versus each other at Final Battle. But they got to do that angle next week because that's the last bit of TV before Final Battle next Friday on the 12th. So hopefully they get that in next week. Then they showed a fun tag team match from this was from their Fort Lauderdale house show. The Motor City Machine Guns defending the tag titles versus the Kingdom. I think they should do this more often. Show not only have bigger matches on those house show tours, but show them on the TV show. Not all of them, obviously. Obviously, you're not going to show everything from a house show on TV, but it makes the house shows feel bigger when they have actual matches that matter on them and that could end up on TV. So I like this aspect, and certainly with the talk of Ring of Honor starting the streaming service next year, I think they're going to make all of the house shows more important, more like pay-per-views, and so everything's going to be more important. The real question is, are they going to get that TV show up to par? In other words, the TV show promoting the house show in a way that feels relevant, that feels urgent, that feels like, oh my God, this is happening now, as opposed to now when we watch Ring of Honor TV, it's like, oh, this happened a month ago. So there's that. But I did like that they inserted this match from the house show tour, a very good tag match, the Motor City Machine Guns retaining here versus the Kingdom with TK O'Ryan and Vinny Marseglia. Great, unique tag team offense from the Motor City Machine Guns. Late in the match, Vinny Marseglia brings in his axe, and TKO brings in his baseball bat. He accidentally hits Vinny Marseglia with the bat, leading into the finish. The Motor City Machine Guns, like I said, retaining. So, fun stuff from Ring of Honor this week. Final Battle right around the corner. We talked about a couple of the matches. We're going to get a TV title match next week between Kenny King and Caprice Coleman. Coleman interviewed himself on Coleman's pulpit this week, which I thought was a little silly. But those two are going to face off for the TV title next week, and depending on who wins that, will be in the four-way with Punishment Martinez, Silas Young, and Shane Taylor. The Best Friends, Chucky T and Beretta, are going to be taking on the Motor City Machine Guns, who we were just talking about, for the Tag Team Championships. The Hung Bucks taking on Flip Gordon, Dragon Lee, and Teton. Just talked about that one earlier. Matt Taven versus Will Ospreay. Interesting matchup. There's like no heat on this thing, but they did announce that will be a match for a Final Battle. Should be a good match, but like I said, there's really there's nothing on the line there, so it'll be interesting to see if they build that up at all. Same thing with Jay Lethal versus Marty Scurll. Another good match, but again, not a lot of heat there. Even with like Jay Lethal was kind of scouting Marty Scurll on this week's Ring of Honor TV, but nothing really happened between the two there. So not that things constantly need to happen and you constantly have to have the angles like that. You certainly don't need to. I like subtlety in my pro wrestling, but again, there's not a lot of story here, but it'll be interesting to see which way they go. They have been telling a nice story with War Machine versus Addiction, with Addiction ruining everything that the fans like and ruining War Machine's chances to get redemption, to get those tag titles back. And so those two having a grudge match should be good. And of course, we briefly talked about the potential for Briscoes versus Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer. They told a good story here since the last pay-per-view. Bully Ray on his, quote, retirement tour, doing all these retirement speeches. I think he's done a great job with them. Tommy Dreamer's done good in his role coming in and just standing up for Bully Ray. And I really liked the promo that he came in and talked to, said to Jay Briscoe, like, look, man, you've taken it too far. And Jay he made me believe that something was actually happening. And the fact that Jay Briscoe didn't outright attack Tommy Dreamer right then and there, they just really did a good job, stretching this out and telling a nice story over the last few months, instead of the Briscoes blatantly attacking them like right away, attacking Tommy Dreamer right away, attacking Bully Ray right away. They stretched it out, and you know, it's been a fun story, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in that match, because, you know, your typical pro wrestling storyline, you know, if a guy's gonna retire or leave the territory, you leave the territory on your back. You put over the next guy. But the Briscoes aren't exactly spring chickens either. They're not, you know, young guys that are on the come up. You know, they're veterans, long time Ring of Honor veterans here. So it could really go. They could tell the feel good story of Bully Ray getting that one last win on his way out, or they could tell the story that, look, the Briscoes are back, baby, and they're heels, and this is their, you know, they're going to be off and running with their new heel personas by beating Bully Ray and his concussions and of course the ultimate babyface Tommy Dreamer, and of course it being in the New York market, that's a huge home market for obviously Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer coming out of ECW, and Tommy Dreamer running all those House of Hardcore shows there. So lots of good stuff for Final Battle. So we'll get some final predictions for that next week. We'll continue to talk about, we'll wrap up the World Tag League discussion next week. We'll finally have the finals for that. Lots of stuff to look forward to in the next week from Ring of Honor and especially New Japan. So, all right, let's wrap up the show with the Kojima tweet.
Now it's time for the Satoshi Kojima Tweet of the Week.
You can follow Kojima on Twitter at cozy_lariat, or if you're like Wayne Miller Jr. and you don't have Twitter, just listen to Strong Honor every week for the best of Satoshi Kojima's Twitter feed. Good morning. Last night I spent with my friend's wrestler, Age. Was fun. I am alive today as well. Thank you. I want to eat bread. So, follow me on Twitter at Tommy Stryker, spell Stryker with a Y. Follow the show at Strong Honor. Go into the show description and look up Wayne Miller Jr.'s lists. He's got best of lists for PWG and Evolve. He's working on that Ring of Honor one. Hopefully he'll have that out in time for the new streaming service next year. Check out my other podcast where we talk about the WWE, Raw, SmackDown, NXT. We talk about the best in the world. That is the Best Pro Wrestling Podcast. Go to bestprowrestlingpodcast.com or stronghonor.com. Two web addresses, one website, two great podcasts, both Strong Honor and Best Pro Wrestling Podcast. I've done a lot of podcasting today. I'm very tired. It's time to end the show and get out of here. Thanks for checking it out. See you later. Bye.